Welcome back again, guys. Always a pleasure to have you with us. If you remember from the end of our last video, we've got our countertops secured. These are secured into the wall. All of the ducting and everything is ready for the polisher. We've tested that, it works so perfectly. We've got these in, we've patched this seam up. So today's a little bit of sanding, a little bit of fine finishing. I'm hoping to get the trim on here, and we may be able to start staining today. We'll have to see. We've got a couple more things to do, but the shop smells like wood. The sun is about to come out. It's going to be an amazing day. Check it out, follow along with us. Okay, with any luck this will show up on camera, but if you remember from the end of last video what John was talking about, having smoothed this already while this was still malleable, as opposed to what we've got here. So I've got to come in here and do a little bit of sanding and shaping. It's going to take me a lot more time to finish this than it is going to clean up that. But such is life. I guess if you don't do it right the first time around, you spend the rest of the day cleaning it up. But let me get a sanding block and we'll get to it. So again, hopefully this shows up on camera, but you can see the difference. This is all now flush. This is a nice transition here, right? We've minimized this appearance. I've come back in with just a blank, or not a blank, a damp, sorry, a damp rag, and sort of taken the dust off of everything. So as this dries up, you'll see the color return to more of this blendy sort of lightness as opposed to this damp darkness. But yeah, it turned out really nice. And it's on to the next step. The next step is going to be getting this permanently affixed here. The reason I didn't do it yesterday is I wanted to sand and make everything look pretty out of, I guess, no real reason, just being picky. But I had this placed here a second ago. I've just taken a pen and marked off the edges of where I need this to be. So now I can come just a smidge back from my marks and drill straight down for my pilot holes, which will let me drill up from the bottom to keep this anchored before I put another one through the stud from inside the cabinet. So after due consideration with John, we've decided that this is not best placed on top of the countertop. It would actually probably be better in order to be raised, I think it's like 12 or 15 inches, to match the height of what is going on over here. That way we don't have to build an extra header piece, and we'll have usable space at the back of this countertop. So I'm going to undo all of my hard work, and then we'll be able to raise it. So instead of this being here, we'll actually put it up more like that. Right? Right. So what he is very carefully not annotating right now is that it's not enough to get it attached to the wall. You definitely want it level. Because if we stick anything in there, we of course don't want it rolling around, and if it's not level, it's putting extra stress on the wall that really doesn't need to be there. Plus it looks funny. And this whole thing is going to end up looking so nice, there's really no point in letting it look funny, is there? Alright, so this is a 12-inch cabinet and the studs here are 16 on center. So there is absolutely no way that we're gonna make it far enough to get to another stud. Rather than cutting the wall open and like nailing a 2x4 in or something, we know that there's concrete behind that wall instead of actual studs because it's an outside wall. So we're gonna use these self-tapping concrete screws and really keep it up there. We'll probably reinforce that a bit later. So that's up and in, and you can see how it really changes the aesthetic of things, right? You've got a much more open space here because of course the welder is going to end up here and customers enter from that end of the store. So it's kind of nice to be able to show off what we're doing. So, you know, if you guys aren't the only ones watching it, if everybody can watch it, well then everybody wins. Check it out.
Before moving on, we took a minute to begin sealing the gap between the countertop and wall with silicone caulk. This will prevent resin from leaking down the wall when we pour our countertop later. We skipped filming this because it's incredibly boring.
It's almost a shame I didn't record this because that is textbook. It's gorgeous. It's got like this beautiful fillet. It's amazing. So when we pour resin on this countertop, nothing will get under the countertop. It won't leak down the wall. Nothing will, you know, not be where it's supposed to be. It's gonna be awesome. I hope this shows up on camera because it really is. I have rented apartments that don't have caulk jobs this good.
After sealing the rear portion of the countertops, we moved on to installing the trim on the outward-facing edges of the counter. John actually had a whole explanation of how cutting this trim was supposed to go, but his proposed method met with extreme difficulty when faced with our Georgia education and a poorly marked variable angle chop saw.
Alright, I have no idea where we are in the project. I've lost track. Hopefully we'll get it in post. Screw it. Point is, I've got this tacked in place, and it looks real good. I've cut the corners using this miter box. We tried to do it with a chop saw, and I'm gonna be perfectly honest, we're Georgia educated. 45-degree angles just don't work for me. So I used this, I cut that out. It's awesome. I'm gonna install this side, and we'll continue wrapping around. It's looking really good so far, so I'm excited.
This is what the counter ended up looking like. This is our only error in cutting, and it's honestly not that big a deal. It's the very inside corner of the counter, which makes it hard to see to begin with, but we'll fill it with some wood putty later, and it should be okay. Here's the transition between the polisher chamber and the cabinet above it. You can still see the nail heads for now, and the rough edge of the cut strip there, but again, we'll fill those with some wood putty, we'll sand and shape things so that they present nicely. This, however, is our greatest example of professionalism and attention to detail. We took the time to use 2 different trim strips here, so that the counter strip ends where the counter does, and the end stop that we use to create smooth transitions picks up after that. This is a small but significant thing that makes a large impact to the overall feel of the finished space.
All right, we're gonna do a quick bit of cleanup. I'm gonna take care of some of the sawdust we made. We've gone in, we've put wood putty everywhere where we're gonna come back in and touch up some seams to make everything nice and pretty. I skipped showing you that part because it's super boring, but when we come back and finish and do our shaping, I will show you that because that's slightly more interesting. I'm gonna vacuum up this sawdust and we're gonna get to caulking the inside edge of all of this trim that we just put up, again, so that when we pour our resin for our countertop, it doesn't leak all the way through. How's it looking? It's good. Yeah? Real good. So we're done playing with the car?
They have to be, yes.
Yeah. Well, what that means then, kids, is that we're going to move some of the rest of this and put all of this away. We've got trim put on, we've got cabinetry installed, we got more trim put on. We got a lot done today. It's been a really good day. And we even got everything caulked up and ready, technically, to pour our countertop Although I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, we haven't even picked out what the countertop's going to be yet. So we started this whole thing with a plan and haven't yet adhered to it. It has been absolutely fantastic. I can't tell you how amazing it's been having you here with us. We hope you enjoy the show. Of course, look forward to our next piece. We want to hear your comments down below, right? We'll have a blog post somewhere here-ish probably, and I'll try and make sure that I link this to the next video here-ish. Until next time, guys, thanks for having us.